order for the resolution. I hope everybody had a nice 4th of July holiday. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I do not have any of this on the
Yeah, the chair, majority leader asked you to come to all committee meetings in case something came up.
Okay, let's start with our approval of minutes for last meeting.
Make a motion?
Second.
Any discussion changes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. HS1 is a resolution authorizing the creation of one position in the Department of Social Services, Social Welfare Examiner. I'll look for a motion.
So moved.
And we have a second, Jay?
Second.
Yes.
Thank you. Marty or Stacy, are you gonna,
Sure, this is a lot of federal child care subsidy money that's coming into communities across the nation. And we're asking for a social welfare examiner that will provide a little more hands-on with the application process. There is no local share to this. It will all be 100% federal money.
does anybody have any questions? That's easy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. HS2, resolution authorizing reclassification of one position in the Department of Social Services, community services worker to social welfare examiner. I'll look for a motion.
Make a motion.
Second, sir. Thank you. Stacy?
Sure, the seasonal heat workers we've hired would need 100% audit on all open heat cases. We, again, have been given a lot of heat federal administrative money, and by having this upgraded to a social welfare examiner, basically what we've done is hired folk who were retired, and they come in seasonally, and we're able to not have 100% review in positions that we're seeing, again, a lot of vacancies. So 100% federal money, and it just upgrades so they can pass these heat cases right on through.
Any committee members have questions?
I got a question. So this is full-time?
It is full-time.
Thank you.
Other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. HS3, resolution appointing a member to the Oswego County Child Protection Advisory Council. It's Melissa Parkhurst, and this is a reappointment, correct?
Correct. She was actually one of the founding members of CPAC, and she was unable to continue with CPAC just before the pandemic hit. She's now in a different place. She's a former foster parent. She was asked to come back on to the Child Protective Advisory Council.
Those for a motion.
So moved.
You have a second?
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? HS4 is a resolution authorizing the creation of 4 positions within the DSS Services Unit. I'll look for a motion to discuss.
I'll make it.
Second.
So, this is the first salvo of a couple-year plan that you've got underway.
Correct.
I'll start with then questions. Why don't we start with questions? I know there's a fair amount of information to go on this. And the informational memo, 3 pages. Frank, go ahead.
I just have a question. It says 4, and 3 of them are to move up to supervisory, A or B or something like that. Is the other one the director position that you have in here?
No,
Because I
so,
see a director position further on in the informational part, but, so that's separate from these 4.
correct. So, civil service titles don't always match up all that well to what they actually do. So we have a director of services right now. She is seated. When Bonadeo came in 2016, they had advised we should also have a grade A supervisor, which is kind of a, if you think, assistant director. And a lot of careful thought went into that. As you know, for those of you that have been on the board for a while, I have had to twice in the last 6 years take over the director of services position, both for almost 6 months. And it is way too heavy of a lift. Somebody needs to be there when the director of services is not available. This is a huge scope of work. So the A, grade A is you can think of as an assistant director. And then the grade Bs, we have 1 quality assurance, grade B, New York State OCFS, and coming in, doing our audits, and doing the program improvement plan, have recommended that we have a second QA grade B, especially given the turnover that we have in the caseworker positions. The second grade B will be for a child protective services, and for that you can think manager, that they're managing 5, 6 senior caseworkers that are supervising. And for them, right now, each one of them have 5, 6, 7 caseworkers under them. So instead of having 1 manager in child protective who's overseeing right now
8, I think, 7 or 8 teams.
we're going to split that and have a manager over 2. We already have that in our foster care preventive and adoption unit. We have 2 grade Bs. So that would be provided. Look, we're not going to be able to hire them all at once, because as soon as you promote anything, it impacts caseworkers. So we've got to get to the point where we are recruiting more caseworkers than are needing us, which is the case right now. So I can't impact that. I think we will at least get 1 child protective grade B situated. I can't do all 4 at once though. So
It's a 2-part kind of a question, because the other
Your
part
other
is on the
question?
supervisor. Well, but you don't have that listed here, right? The director?
The
Is
director.
that the
In
did
the
you say that you're hired, we're looking at 1 case supervisor A and then 3 case supervisor Bs?
So,
Is this the A? Is the director
No.
going to be the,
no, it's not going to be
So
A.
it's creating the 4 positions, the A and 3 Bs,
right?
and adjusting the salary of the director, because she's going to be in very close running with the A.
So, okay, now I'm really confused. And you're just going to have 1 director?
Right.
But I thought you said you were going to split it into 2 different parts. I
That's
agree with you. I agree
managers
with what you're doing. I just
understand.
want to understand it.
So the
Right.
hierarchy goes from the
Okay.
director,
Take a look at that.
from the director down to the A,
Right.
down to the grade Bs,
Okay.
to
Okay.
seniors, to caseworkers.
Right now, the seniors, you're moving them up, okay? And we know that affects everything as you go down through. What is what is their, I want to put this properly. How much experience do they have? Do they have a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years?
For the seniors,
Yeah, that you're moving up into those positions. So they are seasoned people that are going to be supervisors. Because I know that it's not easy to be a supervisor, and it's not easy to find people to replace people.
so keep in mind
What you're doing, I
again,
agree with.
right,
Okay?
the grade
I'm
B,
just trying to understand it.
right, the
okay?
grade B supervisor, is really a manager, and the senior caseworkers is the civil service title, but they're really supervisors.
And they'll
Okay?
have a minimum
So
of
keep
at least-
senior caseworkers, they're supervisors. And then the grade Bs are managers.
All right, okay, thank you. That's it.
Jim and then Tim.
So the director of services, is that a title change or just a raise?
Just a rates change. Marty, you want to explain about
Is that
why we...
going to be a union issue?
No.
It's not?
We're
Okay.
bringing in the grade A at an SG 40, and the grade B already sits at an SG 50. It's just a salary adjustment, number one, because the majority of the candidates for the grade A
Mhm.
have a lot of longevity, which already puts them very close to what the director is earning,
Okay.
as well as putting these additional people under her purview, the director's purview,
Right.
as is the plan, really justifies her having that increase.
So that longevity is creating the issue.
It is creating an immediate issue, but also going forward, we have that expanse
Got it.
of duties.
All right. Thank you.
The grade A is only on the presentive services and foster care side of the, so,
That'll be their focus, if you will, with all this shift to evidence-based. But it won't, for some reason, it is in their job description to serve in the absence of the director of services.
okay. And just to be clear, we are not, in this resolution, we are not voting on the salary increase.
Correct.
This is just the 4 positions.
I did write a separate memo that Phil was going to put on the agenda for the finance and personnel
Right.
committee
And that,
to approve that.
that ended up in this, okay.
Yeah,
They're kind of combined, I guess.
Yeah, it
yeah.
was all fair.
Legislator Stahl?
So the plan in this is to create some more management level positions. Obviously, like you said, we can't move everybody. Is the expectation though to use ultimately all current employees for these positions, or is the plan to go out and look for them? Okay, so the plan will be ultimately you have to backfill all of these positions in addition to all the open positions we currently have underneath this already.
Correct.
So is there any concern that even if we pull 1, 2, 3 at a time, that it creates too much of a vacuum, or is the idea they're already doing the work, this is just a way to pay them more to make up for it? Got all that added work they're needing to do?
No. So, to be quite frank, bases aren't getting covered. And this is pre-pandemic. There was a point where I was really pushing at the front line to get more positions, and when that wasn't successful, I didn't feel like I could push. Now, I feel like we gotta fix things once and for all. And as CPAC, our Child Protective Advisory Council, has said very clearly, that means bolstering all levels of this child welfare and services practice.
No, I understand that, and obviously we're talking about giving people additional pay is wonderful for those people. My worry is that we have a lot of positions we have not been able to fill at the entry level, that the turnover is huge at the entry level. These folks are not the entry level, right?
That's right.
So this issue is addressing, I understand, something else. something larger, a systematic issue? Is that the idea is these folks that are in middle management that we believe can rise up into these new leadership positions, are you just pretty much saying they're kind of already doing a lot of that oversight? This is a way to pay them in a way that would associate with that? Like, I guess the question is, if you already got, say, these 5 people who are employees here and they're doing a great job, they're still here, they've made it through the first couple of years, which we've seen is one of the more difficult things. They've got the time in the system, right? And that's why we need to bump the other salaries, because they've been around. These folks have been around. This is not addressing the other issue that we've been talking about constantly. This is something else. Is that correct?
This is getting enough people in place in management, in that manager level, in order to do more quality assurance, to review these records, to set up training plans, to be having more oversight, and working more with staff development. There are so many bases we don't cover right now that other counties cover, and they're much more successful in the end of retaining their frontline staff. So you really got to have enough support all the way around. And we need a little more depth when it comes to the director of services. I mean, again, twice in 6 years, I had to cover that for almost 6 months. And I got to say that it was a little scary, because I knew I wasn't covering all the bases. How can you? You know, we are all only one person, no matter how many hours we work in the 7-day week God has given us.
So we talk about the retention, though, of that entry level or that younger, I don't know if that's the right word, but you know, the ones who've been here 1-2 years. The idea is if we do a better job supporting them, then maybe, because we've talked about this in the past, is what is causing the turnover, right? In years past, we spent over $1 million on software trying to make the process easier, right? We created some new positions for training, trying to make the process easier. Obviously, pay we've talked about pay quite a bit, but what you're saying, this doesn't address pay at all. What this is saying is this goes to quality of life, quality of strength training, oversight, the other foundational pieces. Is that
Correct.
a way to say it? Because we're not getting new people. We're going to have the same folks. What we're doing is we're putting them in a position where they can
do something different that supports the good for all.
But the issue, I guess, the worry that I have is that we know that there's an issue at the lower levels. Is pulling more people higher up going to create an even bigger vacuum there? I mean, I understand you said right off the bat, hey, we're not doing these all right away. And I think that's obviously wisdom, because what would happen. But even so, is there a concern that we're going to lose some of these folks if we don't do this? Or is it really more of a long-term view of the structure just needs to be right before we can create a better environment for those who are coming in newer?
So a little of both, I guess. You know, again, I want to say, though, that those positions and what they're in now, apples and oranges, it's not the same role. It's not the same duties. They're not going to be just given a title change and more money. They will have a whole new job. And those jobs carry with it a lot of responsibility to fix, not just throw a Band-Aid on some of the gaps in training, in supervision, with our supervisors. This is really just a part of the overall plan. So we have lots of ideas that all cost money to try and strengthen our front line with our caseworkers.
I think this addresses our need for more management at this level, so the people working under the staff, it's better directed, you have better accountability.
That would be good.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I still, as a follow-up to Tim's, I think I do have a little bit of a concern that I think that as the trickle-down effect takes place, and you get 4 people the next level down that say, well, we're going to the position that they had, you then end up with 4 more frontline caseworkers as vacancies.
That's
And you're struggling with that right now as an immediate need. Is there anything that you've got in that magic bag that says, I can't imagine you going with less frontline caseworkers is my concern.
Right, no. I was hopeful that maybe we would start to see more people being able to be recruited than are leaving. Sit with it just a minute. More are leaving than are coming. When do we try to take every measure we can? When I'm down to 70 out of 88, 60 out of 88, 50 out of 88. Over time, we'll decimate that.
Oh, we're not far from it now.
Absolutely. It is absolutely a crisis right now.
And it's not,
Unprecedented.
it's not an Oswego crisis. I mean, it's other counties our size. And honestly, it's even a little bit of an Oswego problem because people get down there and they decide, well, wait a minute, I can still make more money doing something in the private sector than doing this. And a lot of younger people, what used to be the carrot of working for government is not a carrot to them. They don't care about what kind of health insurance you have. They don't care about a retirement program. I mean, I've talked to people, I've worked in 2 other counties, and I'm hearing the same thing from them, that in the interview process, it's like, I don't want that, I want more money. And I know some people in Oswego, and they say they're starting to see it now. So they keep drawing from us, but they're not reaching a level playing field in the big county that pays more money. So I don't know the answer. I'm concerned that you're going to end up with 4 less people on the front line. I really don't want to see the commissioner going out
Knocking
doing,
on the door?
yeah. Send her.
But the supervisors are already doing that.
They're doing that now.
Yeah, our senior caseworkers are out not knocking on doors.
Just voicing the concern.
Well, clearly, part of your long-term plan is to try to increase wages, but unfortunately, we're trying to do that across the board. We have unions involved, and it's going to take more time than waving a magic wand. And in the meantime, we have this as the beginning of your plan to support staff better. So are there any further questions on this resolution? Legislator Shaw?
So I just want to make sure I understand, because it does seem we're doing a number of positions here, right? And your point is, well, this is going to be a staggered approach. But you also just mentioned the fact that this is not your emergency world. This is not, like you just said, 50, 60, 40, 30, whatever. Would it be better to prioritize this additional spending in that area that we know is an emergency? Or are you saying, because if we pull more folks out of this, I mean, we're having trouble already. Like you said, we can't even recruit as many as we're leaving. Well, now we're not only doing that, but we're going to promote out of that pool. And you just said that they're not even going to be doing the same work. So now you're going to take away people who are currently doing the work to do something else, where we can't hire their replacements. Like, I'm concerned about that. And I mean, I get putting it together as a long-term plan, but we're adding these positions today.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was proposed to be on this agenda, but unfortunately, it's the way things work with the union that we're not able to put it forward until there are negotiations with the union.
Oh, I missed that part, I'm sorry. So as much as we're putting this in the budget, it's not actually going to be hired or filled until that negotiation? Because we just did finish that negotiation.
No, these are separate. But the idea of throwing everything at the wall, of giving, somehow increasing the wages of the frontline staff is not something we were able to pull off in time for this meeting. It is part of the plan to try to do, because we're probably going to have to do it across every department in the whole county in order to retain staff. We're bleeding people, faster than we are able to hire.
So how are we able to increase the pay of this one individual without dealing with any of that then?
We are not actually increasing the pay of the one individual today. That's on F&P for...
Okay, great. So in 2 days, how are they going to be able to do it when we can't figure out ways to pay other people.
Different bargaining unit.
Okay, that's the question. That's what I was asking. Okay, thank you.
None of this is easy. I wish it was. I wish we were, we're in an inflationary period with wages that are beyond quick fixes for government. For other questions for Stacy or Marty.
I just want you to know, I've supported this. I'm very uncomfortable with this in losing that front line. But I'm going to take you at your word that this is going to work. Okay?
Yes.
Your front line is shattered now. I don't want it to be worse.
That's right.
Okay.
Well, your goal is to be able to try to hire 10 new caseworkers per quarter. And every time that happens, we are able to retain, what if we're lucky, 6 to 8 of them. So if we were to continue that trend, we're still trying to backfill.
Yes.
And hopefully at the point at which if we are successful in trying to increase wages, or put people at a different grade level of pay to start, then hopefully it'll be easier. Right.
I just wanted to jump in on what you were just talking about, the legislative review. 6 to 8 to 10 is looking to hire now to go along. And the key is going to be the union negotiations, but CPAC has said we have to pay more to retain them. So are you do you have a real good fuzzy feeling that you're going to be able to hire 10 people at the wages we're offering now, or are we going to have to possibly wait till we can get the unions to listen to us and say, we have to move the wages up if we want to get the best and retain the best. Not that ours aren't the best now, but I'm saying that the field that's out there, are we going to be able to do that at the wages we're paying right now? And I think we're going to have a real tough time at it, especially at this day and age. It has nothing to do with Oswego County. It has to do with the way things are right now in the United States of America. Okay, and we have to get in line with that, and we have to talk to the unions and talk some sense into them. Hopefully we can. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we're doing continuous recruitment for caseworkers. The test is given every 3 months. The last time we gave the test, we ended up with 6 or 7 that we had as viable candidates. They were willing to do all the state training, and we ended up hiring 4. So that was just 6 weeks ago, maybe, and 1 has already left. He took a job with the state and is making more money. This past 2 Saturdays ago, the test was given again. We had 13 sign up. We ended up with 6. Some people didn't show up to take the test. Some people failed the test. So out of that 13, we ended up with 6 viable candidates. So we're hoping for another 3 or 4 there. I agree 100% with you, Legislator Castillo, that we will see more people sign up to take the test if they are paid if there's an adequate pay, and if they know about it. And that's the other thing we're starting to recognize is that young people don't know about public service and taking that. That's part of our survey now with people. And so, we're going to be working closely with HR to do a more aggressive campaign, and it's not anything I can do because my understanding is it's TikTok,
Snapchat,
all these.
Instagram, Facebook. Well, Facebook is kind of dead now.
Well, yeah, I go to Facebook and they tell my students, no, it's not Facebook. Nobody young does that. Okay. So we've got to get with the culture of America today and how I said I'll sing a song. I thought TikTok was about songs, so happy to. But I do think there's more we can do about educating people. Younger generations want to lead a purposeful, mission-driven life. It's one of their values of our young generation. And so I mean, 42 years in child welfare and social services, so in my mind, there's no greater mission. But
they're also coming out of school with big student loans.
Yeah.
And we can do the federal loan forgiveness program, but you have to wait 10 years to benefit from that. It's not soon enough.
Other questions?
we're digging in though, guys, we are, and we're gonna hit this, we're gonna get this. This is all too important not to. So.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Phil, we've got you next as county administrator. Update on state legislation impacting counties.
Yes, and just looked at this, and I apologize that it got repeated somehow. So there's actually only 4 of them that I brought to your attention. These are all legislation that have passed both the House and passed the Assembly and Senate, and they're awaiting the governor's signature that affect this committee. This was assembled a couple of weeks ago. I know there's been sessions since then, so further laws may have been passed. But these 4, the language updates within the law, that's something that this county has lobbied for a while, so I'm glad to see that is going forward. The other authorized child care services, and they usually say provides more flexibility in providing child care assistance that by loosening, they're basically loosening criteria. That may mean that we'll be able to provide more of that service, but it may also cost us more to do it. Electronic welfare paperwork, this allows or makes permanent the ability for public welfare districts to accept welfare paperwork electronically as they did during the pandemic. So now that's permanent, if the governor signs it. And lastly, it raises the maximum age of homeless youth can receive transitional shelter services from 21 to 24. I don't know what the demand will be in this county for that. Stacy may have a better idea on that, but that's a potential cost increase as well. I did this with each of the committees this round because the governor hasn't signed any of these yet. In case the committee or the legislature felt they wanted to weigh in with the governor's office whether these should be signed into law or not. Not looking for an answer today. She has until the end of the year to sign these. But I thought if anything there sparked your interest in a lot more research done on it, or any questions about it, she wanted to make you aware of them.
So, I don't think we need more research on the first one. This county was a key player, if you remember right. The newer legislators don't know this, but we went to NISEC, Children with Special Needs, and got the terminology changed already on a couple of different departments. So number 1 there is changing the language across the state of New York. I think it would be a good idea, since we were a leader in getting the other passed. And I will also tell you, we've done a parking bill that we've been involved in the rural areas of New York. People who park illegally in disabled parking spots cannot be ticketed by the state police or the sheriff's department. It's private property. And that has been passed the House and the Senate just recently. And again, NISEC got involved in that. We took that to NISEC, and it is waiting for the governor. That's not on your list because it just went to.
It was on public safety this morning.
It's on public safety this morning? Okay, so again, Oswego County did this. So I think we should do a letter, whether you want to do it as a, congratulations looking at this and signing it, and da-da-da, I don't know how you want to word it. But I do think we should do that because we were an initiating county on those two issues, and they're going to make a huge difference. So I support. Feel I'll write one of my own.
Already written one, she'll hear from me again, I guess.
I'd like to see that.
Any questions for Phil on any of these or comments?
Can
Yes,
I
sir.
speak just with the social services a little bit? Because I was out shadowing a couple times, and one of the things that I really think that you guys, you talked about when I was out there was just morale. You know, when the legislator goes out there, they hadn't seen one before I went out. I was shocked. You know, these people work hard for us, and they're starving for just to know who our legislators are. I think we need to do some shadowing. Newcomers should out there just to understand the whole system. The other thing that we touched on, that kind of it really takes away from the problems that are going on out there is transportation, taking clients or people to appointments, and getting that done. That takes a lot of their time that they really lose a lot of valuable time getting their work done. The other thing is a visiting center for caseworkers when you have to have visitation rights and things. They have to set that up. They have to monitor it. Sometimes they have to go and take care of getting the folks together. I really think that we need to somehow look at a visitation center at some point. But that's just from 2 visits. And but the morale thing, I think, is a big one. I think if they had more employee appreciation days, you know, where we can get out there, even if they're serving a lunch with hot dogs and hamburgers, maybe we go out and we cook with serving to the individual so that they get to see who you are and find out what's going on. So it's just food for thought. That would help, I think, with understanding. If morale comes up, the people will stay, even if it is a little bit more to move somewhere else. But the morale is a big one. And when you're in a burnout phase, I work in manufacturing where people work a lot of overtime, they get burned out, so you have to have these employee appreciation days just to show that you're thankful for the work they're doing. And so we really need to look at doing some of these things. It's a tough one, but we got to do it.
No, I appreciate you doing that, and we're encouraging others to go ahead and do that as well. Any ideas that we have that can help morale there would be great. Okay, no other comments for Phil, or let's head to the reporting departments. And the first on the list is the Department of Social Services.
Okay, well, I sent you a written report dated June 21st. You can see from the personnel updates in services that we're now at 38.5% for 34 caseworker positions. Vacant, soon to be vacant, still in training. That's like 4 out of every 10 of our 87.5 caseworker positions, funded positions. That looks different than HR reports. I just want to kind of make a comment when you look at the overall HR reports. We count everything. So they don't count caseworkers who have given their resignation notice, but they haven't quite left yet. I do put those in my report because as soon as they give us notice, we have to start transitioning all of those families away from that caseworker. We don't have caseworkers waiting in the wings. That's the vision of being able to have 10 extra positions, is that we'll always have a group in training. They, Marty helped me, I lost my train of thought there.
You're counting everything,
Yes.
as opposed to the downstairs.
Correct. You know, we count leave of absence. We've got a few people on maternity leave right now. We also count, in that count are people who are in training. So it would look like, if you looked at our budget, it would look like all those positions are filled, but 9 caseworkers right now are in training. And so they're not in rotation to accept referrals.
And that's another thing, as soon as they submit their resignation, they get pulled off getting new referrals. You don't want to give them new cases to keep carrying on. We have been lucky in that a few people have agreed to stay on part-time. So we've job shared with them, so 2 people filling 1 line, if they're able to do that. So they're able to do like evening home visits and weekend work to help us catch up and to keep things moving forward. But that doesn't always last a long time.
Although these folks have been with us, you know, it's not that they like the job, it's just too much of it.
Does anybody have questions based on the report? Stacy? The report is in the packet,
Then, not on
not on the report.
the question.
I also wanted to just rise up the nursing services. You know, we are doing, purchasing have helped us, and we've tried really hard to find a nurse we could attach. That was part of a plan, especially dealing with fragile health issues, not only with children, but with our elders on our adult protective cases. We just can't find any. We did not get a single bid from any of the home-based nursing services.
Wow.
I know. It's,
Come to the health committee.
yeah. And I also just, you know, with Dave in the room, I want to thank Dave for, he was really a champion on transportation with Congressman Gackel's office. You'll see in our report, the Rise to Recovery program did receive funding of $250,000. That is going to make such a difference. I also want to say this could not have gotten pulled off without strategic associates, our grant writers. There is, am I right, Dave? The timing, a brand new system. Leanne was awesome, and she really is an amazing grant writer, and her whole team. You know, just putting in a plug if you ever think, geez, you know, this contract. It will bear fruit. It has already brought, I'm sure, much more money in than that contract cost. And START, you know, we have to, as I've said for the last 2 years since that federal legislation, FIPSA, Families First Preventive Services Act, FIPSA Services Act, yep. It is going strong now in New York State, and we have to get to the point of evidence-based programs that start. So just making a pitch, if any of you have any say in the opioid settlement money, that's what we put in for in order to fund the first 2 years until we reach fidelity. We might be able to do it sooner than 2 years. You have to reach fidelity, be credentialed, and then half of all those costs, federal 4E money will take care of. And net of that 50% federal will be 62% state reimbursement. So it's a really good way to get a good bang for our buck when it comes to the local share. And that's it, unless you have some other questions on my report.
Okay, no questions on the report. Let's see. Over to Chief Bureau.
Okay, so you have my report as well. There's a lot of good stuff in there for you to read.
Right.
Hang on.
Yeah, I did have some questions for DSS, not on the report. I spoke with Marty before we walked in. 211. Okay, not really all that familiar with it. I got familiar after a person came to me and asked me about 211 and how could it be so not caring. Okay, in the sense that a person came to his door, a woman that had left an abusive relationship and out of the house, in Onondaga County, was in Oswego County, was looking for help. She knew that she should call 211. She called 211. I found out that 211, because he thought, well, how could Oswego County do this to her? Well, it's not Oswego County 211. Okay, and he said, well, she asked for help, a place to stay. They asked her if she had ID. She said no. He said, well, then Oswego County's ruling is that we can't put you up in a hotel or motel unless you have ID. And I found out further that it's not so much DSS's rule, but it is coming from the hotels and the motels. But what I'm looking for is I'm looking to be able to give this gentleman some ideas as to what could have happened had they gone a little bit further. Where else could they have been sending somebody that's coming out of, running out of the house or whatever? They're not going to have transportation. Two, they're not going to have ID. So what can we do for somebody in those cases? That's what could we do, and what answer can I give this gentleman?
Well, not knowing the case specifics, it sounds like there might be some missing pieces in that story.
Well, the point is where could we send her to get her transportation and to get her to a place to stay until something's opened up the next day where she could get out to DSS, because they said go to DSS. Well, if she's there, DSS isn't open, where does she stay until DSS is open the next day? Then you would give her a call and ride, or curb to curb service to DSS. I understand that, but what can we do in the meantime? Because somebody's going to run into it sooner or later. What do you do when there's off hours and you have somebody in that situation? That's all I'm looking for.
I rarely, I've never heard, I can't think of a situation like that we've encountered. Most women, when they're running from a bad situation, will grab ID. Even if there's police there, they will grab ID. They are scared, absolutely. To get from Onondaga County to Oswego, I understand why a motel and hotel owner would not want certainly a person staying there that they don't know who they are.
I think this would really be much better.
That's something we can handle offline.
Yeah,
because you got a lot to go through here.
Rather than doing that,
Okay, thank you. That's it. Thank you.
I think you should absolutely call to DSS so you can get to the right person, down the chain of command who's dealing with those kinds of situations.
Yeah.
Just real quick, OCO runs the homeless hotline.
Not off hours anymore.
Yeah, depending on the time.
Yeah.
They've got a different protocol.
But boy, we put them up in hotels.
So kind of a wacky situation with not having someone without any ID. But certainly we can get the answer to your question. Okay, sorry Brian, you just got going and.
That's okay. So you have my packet. I won't go through it. There's a lot of stuff in there. One of the reasons I won't go through it is they gave you all of them. I don't have one. But with that being said, a lot of good info in there. Just a couple updates. We have over 600 campers for Camp Hollis this summer. In 2019, we had 501. The reason I use that date is that's the last year we were able to offer overnight camping. So we're well over 600 right now. There are, this week is our slowest week, and it's because of the 4th of July holiday. It always is. We have 74 campers there today. We had 90 last week, and we have 90 to 100 the rest of the summer. Right now, you can still sign up. Camp Zerby had their first day of camp today for the first time in numerous years as well. They have 28 kids there today. They can only have 30 as the max. I'm sorry, 26 today. 30 is the max they can have for the staff ratio. With the rain, 26 isn't bad. And the reason why I'm tracking it is because as Legislator Yurden and such, we talked about building the program, trying to strengthen the numbers to see what we have going forward. So we are sold out if it goes forward. Other than that, the only other things I'll touch quickly on is the legislator picnic is coming up next week. So I guess you're only supposed to respond if you can't make it. And I believe there's only one legislator so far who quickly said he couldn't make it. But other than that, and the only reason why I say this is because for food planning and such as they go through. But other than that, you can read through. Although I will put on the spot today since he's here. Totally not planned. Thank you to Mr. Morvino, who was one of the applicants for the sports money, and it was awarded to a program he's a part of that does fantastic work with kids not only in Fulton but throughout the whole county. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But thank you for that. And it's not only basketball. I believe they'll be learning numerous things while they're there this summer. But a lot of time they put in. And it was a short turnaround, and they were able to get an application in that my board of directors voted on. But thank you very much for putting that forward. Not to put them on the spot, but there you go.
So the date that luncheon is the date of our next.
It is, and we will have you out of here. Food will be on your plate at noon. If you want to come at 11, you can see the pre-activity so that you guys can get out on time if you can.
And are we planning on doing our next meeting at Camp Zerby?
That's what I was told by Legislator Yurden, that it's available if you want to. Just give me the time and I'll take care of it for you.
Well, that's whatever, the first Monday in August.
It was announced that next caucus will be at Camp Zerby.
Oh, caucus, no, I'm sorry.
No, caucus.
Well, maybe we'll have both one of these meetings there. Sorry about that.
Nope, that's fine. So as I told him, just let me know, make sure the caretaker takes care of you guys for that. Other than that, we're all good. Everything's good, going well.
Sorry about that.
Nope, you're good.
Okay, Sarah, do you have some highlights from your report? Thank you for your report.
Yes, certainly. So the first item on my report that I provided was regarding the farmer market coupons. There's a little delay with them. The printer, half the state got their coupons, but when they opened them up, because they're numbered, they were not sequentially numbered. Some booklets had 3 instead of 5. So they pulled back all the ones that hadn't been sent out yet. They pulled back in so they could go through them before we received them. We have tentative dates to go out, but they're not published yet because we cannot, if we don't have the coupon booklets, we cannot certainly distribute them. We were notified though that we're getting 680 booklets as opposed to the 800 we received last year. So that's 120 fewer booklets. But the value of the booklets, because they're getting 5 coupons valued at $5 each, we're actually getting, the value of the coupons we're getting is $1,000 more than last year. So more money, fewer booklets, but that does mean fewer people will be receiving them because we always distribute all the booklets we receive. So we can request additional booklets from there's other counties that don't distribute all of them, send them back to the state, so we might be able to get some additional booklets, but we do know that is going to be an issue, that people are going to be going and hoping to get booklets, and they will not be there, because 120 booklets is a lot of people not receiving them. Also, as part of it, the first 500 participants will be getting a little container garden. I brought one in my car, but I don't know if you want to all see it, but it is a container, has soil, seeds for growing their own basil, as well as a trowel and gardening gloves, and that's part of the SHINE grant, which is covered 100% with that grant to distribute to all the first 500 participants. So that'll probably also be something, so those additional 180 participants that are getting the booklets won't be getting the container gardens, but had to draw a line somewhere. We're also, I shared with you our disability awareness As part of our grant, we're going to have a speaker come in. It's going to be going to OI on July 19th to talk about her experiences. She's a disabled person, talking about her experiences through the whole process. So that is open to anyone and everyone. So please feel free if you want to come in and hear what she has to say from her perspective. Please do so. It's not no registration required. It's just drop in. Our meals program. I know that I had presented earlier in the year. I was concerned about the cost of fuel and the cost of food, and how I thought maybe we'd have additional people requesting home delivered meals. That has not come to fruition yet. To date, through May, because we have not gotten our June numbers yet, but through May, our meals compared to through May last year are down 5,000, but it's still up over 10,000 from pre-pandemic. So we still are over what previously we were providing, but it is down from last year. So we're in good shape financially, fiscally for that. No worries, even if we do get a spike and increase of participation, request for participation, we'll be able to cover that without any issues.
Trains coming into the station.
But we are also started discussion with Mom's Meals. Mom's Meals is a delivery, mail delivery of meals. We have had requests in the past for specialty meals such as pureed meals. We haven't so far for like vegan or gluten-free meals, but we do know that that is going to be something that will there'll be a higher demand for as our younger people age, because there's younger people that have those dietary restrictions. So Mom's Meals does provide those. Our current meal provider, because the demand for it is so low with OCO, they don't have those specialty meals that they provide. So we did speak with Mom's Meals. They provide up to 2 weeks of refrigerated meals. They're refrigerated to if that need arises, and that'll be something I'll be working with purchasing on, to have a small contract with them to meet those meal needs for those meals. Also, we sometimes have requests for meals in the farthest corners of the county that are sometimes hard for to get volunteers to deliver to them every day. So this is something we can look at as well, to get meals to those requests from the participants in other areas of the county where we have not denied them, but it just might be easier to have the delivery of them via the Mom's Meals. And they came back, we right now pay $5.99 per meal. Mom's Meals, I thought it was going to be outrageously expensive, but they're $7.99 per meal. So it is very, it wasn't outrageous to me with the cost of that, with what some of the other counties are paying per meal right now, up to $15 per meal from their providers. So, but I'll have more information on that as we move forward, because it will be a contract. We would need to move forward with it. Our senior picnic, we're going to have it on August 24th. Fingers crossed, things continue the way they are so that we can have it in person, sit down. It'll be at the Mexico VFW. We'll have more information on it at our next meeting. But we're looking to have musical entertainment. We'll be provided with a box lunch to sit down and eat. And we're also going to be looking into transportation options to get people in other areas of the county to Mexico to participate in that. And it will be funded through our congregate meal program, so it'll be, it won't be any additional cost. And then as part of that, we're still looking for our Senior of the Year, and that's something I also passed out. If you know of anyone that would be you feel would be great to represent as a Senior of the Year for Oswego County, give that nomination back to me, and we will recognize them at the senior picnic. Their name will also be promoted up to the state office for the aging, and will be recognized statewide as well. We're also The State Office for the Aging reached out to all AAAs asking if they'd like to participate in virtual senior centers, so we'll be moving forward with that as well. We'll be able to provide in-home virtual senior center activities via the internet, which is live via Zoom, for up to 30 participants. And those are for people that can't get out to the senior centers, whether they have health conditions that precludes them from wanting to go out to the senior dining activity centers, or they just don't want to go out and participate that way, but they can participate via an internet program, Zoom, and it's unlimited. So it's, if they wanted to participate in 21-hour programs a day, then they could do so. It's no limitation, and it's all fully paid for by the State Office for the Aging. We have surveys going out to see which seniors actually have internet connection, because it's an internet sponsored platform. So we're going to be looking to see who has that and then getting them set up. The second phase of that would be if they want to participate but they don't have internet, then we would be looking at taking some of our CARES Act or our ARPA funds to be able to provide them with the hardware and the connection so that they can participate in that program. And then the last item we have is LEQ. Hopefully I'll have a display of it. It is an artificial intelligence unit. The State Office for the Aging, again, had a grant for that. They asked if we'd like to participate. We said yes, of course we'd like to. It is a little unit that you wake up in the morning, you'll say good morning, whatever your name is. It has a camera in it and it tracks you, so it knows when you walk into the room. It reminds you to take your medicine. It will say, if you're going out today, wear a coat. The temperature is going to be whatever it is, wherever they are. So we asked for up to 25 of them. So we'll see how many we actually get here in Oswego County. As soon as we get our first one, though, I'll bring it in so you can see it. And again, this is part of the social isolationism to try to combat that for people who aren't getting out, that don't have family nearby, that are being able to check in on them. This, because it is also an internet requirement, it also connects them to their family. There's a little tablet that's with it as well, and they can send messages, and their family can see them as well. So it's going to tie in a lot of things. So we have a lot going on in addition to all the stuff we do every day. So, but those are my highlights that I have. If anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Office of the Aging, Sarah?
Good job. That sounds good.
Are you connected to the transportation to the farmers markets? That's through.
We are in the aspect that we sit on the advisory committee and we provide information for it, but we don't have any funding or anything along those lines with that, just to provide information.
How do you promote the booklets, the coupons, and then do you also, with that, do you help announce the different farmers markets?
We do, as part of the coupon booklets, only some of the markets, only the participating markets that have signed up through Ag and Markets as accepting the coupons are the ones that we promote.
Okay.
So, the Oswego, Fulton, and then there's some roadside stands as well. But believe me, there's a lot of it. We do put it in the paper. We put it on our Facebook page. We put it out to all the senior buildings. We announce it at the congregate meal sites. People have been called. They started calling in March. When can I get my booklets? People who've received them are waiting for them. So not a ton of additional advertising is.
Do you create a waiting list for those people that call in, or?
People who call in who have not, if we have no booklets left, then yes, we have to, that is part of it, we create a waiting list. People who, once we go to all the advertised sites, if we have booklets left, if they say, I can't get out to get it, can you deliver them to me? Then at that time we go and deliver them to the households as well. So we can, but this year, the last few years, you can proxy, you can mail in a proxy. If you can't get there yourself, you can send in a proxy so someone else can pick them up on your behalf. And also power of attorney can pick them up on your behalf as well. In some situations, if the paperwork's all filled out, we can mail it to them as well.
Okay, thank you.
But bringing up transportation, though, thank you, Legislator Rehill. I wanted to say this past Friday was the start of our curb-to-curb transportation. We had a phone call from a lady who lives in Williamstown, who has used Call and Ride previously, which Williamstown was 2 days a month for Call and Ride. She took it on this Friday, July 1st, when the curb-to-curb new day started. She was able to get on the bus earlier. She said it went extremely well. She was so happy, and she's one of the people, because she only had 2 days of service a month. She really could only use it one day. It was only one good viable day for her, so she tried to get all of her shopping done at once. She has some disabilities. She has a very long driveway, so getting all of her purchases up her driveway was a disadvantage to her on that 1 day per month that she could access it. Now she has access to transportation 2 days a week, and she's like, I don't have to do all my shopping in 1 day. I have multiple days to do it. She's like, I only had 2 bags I had to carry, and she was so happy for the new transportation. So I know that was one of your concerns, Legislator Cecilia, but so far, I mean, it just started, but she said it went very well and very,
Hope it continues.
yes, very happy compared to previous. The extended hours as well, because now it's 9 to 4. It was 10 to 2 previously. So.
All right, thank you. Eric, we didn't actually get you on the agenda for some reason. We have department reports each week. There's 4. We try to rotate them. So first of all, we need to introduce you to the committee and probably have everybody at the table introduce themselves. This is Eric Boozer, our new Director of Veteran Services for Oswego County. Recently, yesterday was your first day on the job, correct?
Absolutely, yes. Today was my first day in the office.
So why don't we scoot around the table quick, and so you can catch the legislators' names and know that you can call on us anytime you want to try to get us to keep things rolling in your office.
J-Scan, 16th District.
Go ahead, Matt.
Well, you met me.
Yes.
I'm interim deputy clerk.
Frank Stay, 25th District.
Yep, and I'm Roy Real. I'm from Constantia.
Jim Karasik, my district is part of Fulton and Brandon.
Frank Lombardo, District 7, Mexico.
Over here in District 2, I have Williamstown, LBN, Orwell, and Hardwich.
Still doesn't have that many.
Mike Jordan, District 1 legislator. It's part of the interview process, so Matt Garrett comes forward,
Mike Soloway, District 23, Barclay Granby, and Hannibal.
And hiding.
Legislator Tim Stahl from the town of Oswego.
So I don't know if you have much of a report today, because you probably didn't know you had to report, but this next month we try to rotate, and Matt, you may not know this either, but we rotate the 4 departments every week, so somebody doesn't always have to be last or first. So no favoritism, right, between our 4 departments. You have any comments so far?
I'm excited, glad to start, and everything so far, there's a lot of people have reached out to me, so I've got a lot of help already. I think it's going to be great.
And we've got to work with Mike to help restart the Veterans Advisory Committee, if you haven't already, so if you need some help with that, we'll try to get that back off the ground. Okay, we had a presentation from Habitat for Humanity. So why don't you introduce yourselves first?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sam Rapoli. I'm the director for Oswego County Habitat for Humanity. I just want to thank you all for inviting me here today. I'm just going to give you a brief overview of our program. With me today is Sabina Ingerson. She's on our board of directors. But what I'd like to do is just talk a little bit briefly about the history of Habitat for Humanity. As you're probably all aware that Habitat for Humanity really became popular through the Carter administration. Jimmy and Rosalind Carter really put a face to the program.
I don't know how to.
Pop up through the whole presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Well, back in the early 1970s, mid to late 1970s, Habitat was actually born from two individuals down in Augusta, Georgia, who felt the need to provide housing for low-income families. From that, it generated interest throughout our nation and globally. Habitat for Humanity International provides housing in 70 countries worldwide. From the international came the Habitat for Humanity affiliates, which we're part of, and it's across all 50 states. In New York State, there's 47 affiliates from Buffalo, Rochester, Binghamton, Albany, New York City, and Long Island. So we cover quite an array of area for homelessness and provide affordable housing for individual families. Next slide, please. Our vision is the same across the board. We're to provide decent, affordable living conditions for families of low incomes throughout our state and beyond. But Oswego County Habitat for Humanity is in the process of seeing something happening new in our area, and that's developing a new way of providing housing for our families. In the past, Habitat for Humanity in Oswego County and throughout provided mortgages at a 0% interest rate for 30 years. That has become so complicated throughout the years because of the economic situation that our families are facing. It's hard for small affiliates such as ours to provide that service. We don't have the banking capabilities of doing so. So we've teamed up with Fulton Savings Bank and Home Headquarters to provide a service for our families at a low interest rate. And those families, we have grants that are written for those families to provide down payments and closing costs for those families, alleviating some of the costs that goes with buying a home today. This home in particular is in the city of Oswego. It's on Liberty Street, as you can see. It was originally built in 2008 for a Habitat family. Unfortunately, they had foreclosed on the property, so it was turned back over to us. That's when we were carrying the 0% interest rate for them. But even at that rate, they couldn't manage the property for economic reasons. But we regained the property and we completely renovated it. This is in the process of being reconstructed as we speak. So the folks that you see standing around the front porch are from the New York State CSEA Carpenters Local. They're actually interns with the local. So they came out a few times to help renovate the interior of this home. We completely did a gut out of the house. We're upgrading the boiler system, the electrical system, and insulating the walls, the exterior walls. Originally, the exterior walls were at an R19. We had foamed the walls. We're at an R23 right now for that house. And the reason why we do those things is because we don't want to burden the homeowner with additional costs. So it's more economical for those families. Next slide, please. Housing and health. A lot of people really don't put the two together, but this is the reason why we decided to really bring that house on Liberty Street up to code. current codes because of the health reasons. The foam that we use, the foam that we use for the insulation is mold resistant. It just has more benefits to the construction of the home. It's affordable, and it'll make the house more affordable for the homeowners. Next slide. You're probably wondering, how do we acquire these homes, or how do we get into these properties? Right now, we have a house in Mexico that was actually donated to us. It sits on almost 2 acres of land, and we're in the process of working with city BOCES to see if we can't utilize the educational piece from the children there to actually work on the house. So we're in the planning stages of that. But what can you do as individuals to support our program? Well, we do fundraisers to support some of our projects. Donations are always kind from our donors. Volunteers. But I think the biggest aspect to our success is just the advocacy from our community. Advocating for our program. The Shinneman Foundation, Fulton Savings Bank, Home Headquarters, numerous vendors throughout our county have been so kind and generous. Oswego, Lowe's, Burke's, and Rabies have donated materials for the house on Liberty Street. We're in the process of renovating a home in Fulton. So we do have projects out there, but it's your support and your drive to help us get to where we need to be. We can't do this alone. That's why we seek out your professionalism in the fields that you serve the community. You know as well as I do that it takes more than just one person to make change in this community. It takes everyone, and everyone has to be on that positive track. And just from what I heard here today, I think you're all doing a great job in taking care of our county. I think it's really awesome to see and hear what you've all done and what you're doing for everyone. Does anyone have any questions about Habitat for Humanity? I know I talked a little bit fast, but
How many projects do you have going right now?
right now we have the 3, Mexico, Fulton, and Oswego.
And so you're not doing the loans anymore, the loans are coming through the banking local
Yes,
community?
yes, they are.
Yeah, I just want to say New York State said that Habitats can't do those anymore. So you have to have so many things in place that most affiliates just can't handle it. So basically, the affiliates lost their ability to do that.
And I can comment on that. Part of the reasoning for that is that when they carry the loan and someone defaults, it's a lot more difficult for them to retain and get that home back than it is if a bank is writing that loan.
Absolutely.
And be able to do that. The other discussion that I've had and heard is, when this county has homes that we give to land bank, I know you guys are working on trying to develop a relationship with land bank that, every now and then, maybe one of those could be passed over to Habitat and serve a different need, because it serves the people that would never have an opportunity to own a home. And I don't know if that would eventually change our agreement with the land bank or not. But it's a potential source of getting a house or two that they would be able to do a different type of program that serves the people that just don't have an opportunity. You can't talk. Sabina used to be a director at Arise. She used to be a director at Arise, so she was my boss at one point.
Yeah, I just want to say what makes Habitat different from other housing programs is the families all have to put some sweat equity into it. So they have to learn those trades, they have to do some carpentry, painting, and learn general home repair. So when they hopefully become homeowners, they have some of those skills to keep the house going. We also have an agreement with Oswego County Housing Development, and they're doing the financial counseling. So all the families have to go through an 8-hour session to learn budgeting. So hopefully with all the things that we have put in place in the last 3 years, because Habitat has been kind of not active, is that these families are going to be successful. And that's the whole idea, that they will be successful going forward so they can live in that house for the duration of the loan in 25 or 30 years or whatever.
This is not a handout, it's a hand-up. And that's how we look at our program. You know, it's really setting families up for success, not for failure. And we take every precaution we can, and we try to guide the families up to that point where they get the keys to their home. And it's an asset for everyone. It's a win-win situation for everyone. Because think about the communities that are going to flourish with new homeowners, you know, and giving creating a sense of pride for that family, to be part of something, to be part of the community, rather than just be renters someplace. So it's very important, very important.
Yep, understand stuff.
So does Habitat have anything to do with it after the home is purchased? I mean, once the family or whoever moves in, is it hands off, or is there more services after that point?
No, because we're gonna stay with the family as long as we can. We want the families, because they do have to volunteer their service hours as part of their down payment on that house. So hopefully we'll groom them enough so they'll be connected to Habitat for the rest of their lives, whether we're here or not.
But there's no financial interest, I guess.
There's no financial.
So once the home has been turned over, they purchase it from the bank, Habitat's out, right? So once the house is sold, is that true, or?
Not quite, because the 60% of MI is what the family, it's the maximum a family can earn. So if they can't afford the house, let's say the house is $100,000, but they can only afford 70, then Habitat issues a second, it's not a mortgage, but an agreement that they cannot sell the house over so many years. So, you know, then Habitat deducts so much per year of that original thing. So people can't go and get a Habitat house and flip it. So in that respect, we will stay, you know, involved. And, you know, hopefully that's why we're looking for long-term and not people who want to make a buck on this. So it's really people who are responsible. We went through like a 3-month interview process for the family we just selected. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, and hopefully we have the right family, and it will be a really good match.
How do you enforce the commitment to volunteer?
They don't get the keys to the house if they don't.
So
the
they're
number of hours
volunteering
aren't up, then
to help build their own house,
Mhm.
not someone else's.
So they can actually move around to different homes and acquire those hours.
So they can count the hours no matter what.
But, so the family can be deselected if, you know, they don't do their sweat equity. I mean, if they're extenuating circumstances, it's always something else. But for this family right now, we reduced usually we want 500 hours, but we hope to get the family in there by September 1st. That's not realistic. And their friends and family members can also provide these hours, so it doesn't have to be the homeowner themselves, all by themselves. So they can recruit a group. So they can recruit you.
Interesting. Any other questions? Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Do you have something?
No. Good.
Well, I'm looking for the appropriate motion.
I do have something. I just would like, I know that, you know, it's highly unusual, and we don't normally go off anything that isn't on the agenda, but we do have 3 individuals here that.
They were informed that this was not on the agenda, it was not to be discussed today. I'm not going to allow it to be discussed today.
Could we let them know that it passed this committee anyways, but you know, they would possibly have to go in front of finance personnel, because I think that's where it was, tabled.
Apparently it was tabled back to this committee, even though this committee already passed it. We have some issues to try to iron out that don't have to do with the public airing of the committee. It has to do with the details of how ARCO is going to be administrated. And it's not part of approval of their individual ask.
Okay, I'll make a motion for adjournment.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Good.